Captain Jake Morrison, stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon, watching the stars stretch past the viewing screen. The ship had been exploring the outer edges of known space for 3 months now, searching for new planets and resources. It was supposed to be a routine mission, nothing more than mapping systems and taking readings. "Captain, we're getting something strange on the communication array," said Communications Officer Ben Carter, his fingers dancing across his console. "It's not like anything we've seen before." Jake walked over to Ben's station and looked at the readings. Signals were coming from the Kepler 442 system, about 2 light-years away. But these weren't natural signals from a star or planet. They had patterns, structure, purpose. "It's a message, sir," Ben said, his voice filled with excitement and worry. "And it's directed at us." Dr. Lisa Chen, the ship's science officer, hurried over from her station. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had studied every form of life they had encountered during their journey. "Are you sure it's meant for us? We haven't sent any signals to that system." "I'm running it through the Universal Translator now," Ben replied. "The patterns are complex, but there's definitely intelligence behind them." Jake felt his heart beating faster. First contact with an alien species was something every space explorer dreamed about, but it was also terrifying. Humanity had theories and protocols, but no real experience with other intelligent life. The translator beeped, and words appeared on the screen. Ben read them aloud, his voice shaking slightly. "To the human vessel in our space, we greet you with honor. We are the Zilithian Empire, and we have watched your kind with great interest. We request immediate audience with your leader for matters of interstellar alliance and mutual benefit. Please come to the 3rd planet in our system. We await your arrival." The bridge fell silent. Jake looked around at his crew, seeing the same mix of excitement and fear on their faces that he felt in his chest. Commander Kyle Roberts, head of security, stepped forward. He was a tall man with broad shoulders who had served in the military before joining the exploration service. "Sir, this could be a trap," Kyle said. "We don't know anything about these aliens or their intentions, but it could also be the most important moment in human history," Lisa added. "We have to consider the possibilities here." Jake nodded slowly. He had trained for situations like this, but training felt very different from the real thing. "Ben, send a response. Tell them we accept their invitation, but we're coming with a small diplomatic team. Ask for coordinates for a safe landing site." "Yes, sir," Ben replied, his fingers moving quickly across his controls. Within minutes, they received a response with detailed coordinates and what appeared to be star charts showing safe approach routes. The aliens were clearly advanced, perhaps more advanced than humans. "Set course for the Kepler 442 system," Jake ordered, "and prep the shuttle for a diplomatic mission." The journey to the alien system took 2 days at maximum warp. During that time, Jake, Lisa, and Kyle prepared for first contact. They studied what little they could learn from the alien transmissions and reviewed all the protocols Earth had established for meeting new species. Lisa worked on analyzing the alien language and communication patterns. "Their technology is impressive," she reported. "The translation algorithms they're using are far more sophisticated than ours. They've clearly been studying our language and culture for some time." Kyle focused on security preparations. "Like how much they seem to know about us when we know nothing about them," he said. "We need to be careful." As they approached the 3rd planet in the system, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The world was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents that reminded him of Earth. But there were also structures visible from space that were clearly artificial. Cities that glowed with soft light and spires that reached high into the atmosphere. "Receiving landing coordinates," Ben announced. "They want us to land near what looks like a major city." Jake, Lisa, and Kyle took the shuttle down to the planet's surface. The landing site was a smooth platform made of some kind of crystal material that sparkled in the sunlight. As they stepped out of the shuttle, Jake was surprised to find that the air was breathable and the gravity was very similar to Earth's. "Welcome, humans," came a voice from behind them. Jake turned and saw the most beautiful being he had ever encountered. She was clearly humanoid, but taller than most humans, with elegant features and skin that seemed to shimmer with a faint golden light. Her hair was long and silver, and her eyes were a deep purple color that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Behind her stood several other beings who were similar in appearance, but clearly different individuals. They all wore flowing robes made of materials that seemed to shift color in the light. "I am Queen Zara of the Zilithian Empire," the beautiful alien said, stepping forward. "We have waited long to meet your kind in person. Though it took effort, I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Service. This is Dr. Lisa Chen, our science officer, and Commander Kyle Roberts, our security chief." Queen Zara smiled, and Jake noticed that her teeth were perfectly white and straight. "You honor us with your presence, Captain Morrison. We have much to discuss about the future of our peoples." "We're honored to meet you as well, Your Majesty," Jake replied. "Your message mentioned an alliance. We're very interested in learning more about your proposals." "Excellent," Queen Zara said. "But first, you must be tired from your journey. Please, come to our palace. We have prepared quarters for you and a feast in your honor." As they walked through the alien city, Jake was amazed by the architecture. The buildings seemed to grow from the ground like living things, with curved walls and flowing lines that were both beautiful and functional. Gardens filled with exotic plants were everywhere, and the air smelled of flowers he couldn't identify. The people they passed stopped to stare at the humans, but their expressions were curious rather than hostile. Children peeked out from behind their parents, pointing and whispering. "Your people seem very peaceful," Lisa observed. "We have had no wars for over 1,000 years, Queen Zara replied. "We learned long ago that cooperation brings better results than conflict." The palace was magnificent, with walls that seemed to be made of living light and gardens that extended in all directions. Queen Zara led them to a suite of rooms that had been prepared for their stay. "Rest now," she said. "Tonight we will feast, and tomorrow we will discuss the alliance between our peoples. I believe you will find our proposals most interesting." After Queen Zara left, Jake sat down heavily in one of the alien chairs, which somehow adjusted itself to perfectly fit his body. "Hey, this is incredible," Lisa said, examining the walls and furniture with scientific curiosity. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." Kyle was less impressed. "Something feels off about this," he said. "They're being too friendly, too accommodating. In my experience, when someone wants something from you, they usually start with the hard sell." Jake nodded. "I agree we need to be careful. But this could also be the opportunity of a lifetime. For humanity, if we can form an alliance with a civilization this advanced, it could change everything for our species. I just hope we're not walking into something we can't handle," Kyle replied. As night fell on the alien world, Jake stood at the window of his quarters, looking out at the glowing city below. Tomorrow would bring answers to questions that humanity had been asking for centuries. He just hoped those answers would be ones they could live with. The stars above were different from the ones he knew, but they were still beautiful. Whatever happened next, Jake knew that this moment would be remembered. As the day, everything changed for the human race. The next evening, Queen Zara led Jake, Lisa, and Kyle through the palace to a grand dining hall. The room was enormous, with a ceiling that seemed to stretch up forever and walls covered in what looked like living murals that moved and changed as they watched. "Our artists spend years creating these wall paintings," Queen Zara explained, as she noticed Jake staring. "They tell the history of our people and our greatest achievements." The dining table was made of the same crystal material as the landing platform, and it glowed softly from within. Around the table sat dozens of Zilithians, all dressed in beautiful robes and jewelry. They looked at the humans with curious eyes, whispering to each other in their musical language. "Please, sit here beside me," Queen Zara said to Jake, gesturing to a chair at her right side. Lisa and Kyle were shown to seats nearby, where they could watch everything that happened. As they sat down, servants began bringing food. Jake was surprised to find that most of it looked familiar, though it tasted different from anything he had ever eaten. The flavors were complex and amazing, making him feel energized and alert. "We have studied your nutritional needs, Queen," Zara said, noticing his expression. "Our scientists have worked hard to create foods that will nourish human bodies while pleasing human taste preferences." You've been studying us for a long time, Lisa said. Wasn't really a question. Queen? Zara nodded. For over 50% of your years, we have watched your species with great interest. We have observed your expansion into space, your wars, your achievements, and your failures. You are a remarkable people, an elderly Zilithian man sitting across from Jake leaned forward. We have been particularly impressed by your emotional resilience, he said in careful English. Your species faces challenges that would destroy most civilizations, yet you continue to grow and adapt. Your creativity is also fascinating, added a younger female Zilithian. The art and music and stories that come from your world show an imagination that we find very attractive. Jake felt uncomfortable with all the attention and praise. We appreciate your interest in humanity, but I'm curious about this alliance you mentioned. What exactly are you proposing? Queen Zara set down her eating utensil and looked directly into Jake's eyes. Our empire is vast and old, Captain Morrison. We have technology that could benefit your people greatly, and resources that could help humanity expand across the galaxy. But we have learned that technology alone is not enough. To make a civilization truly strong? What do you mean? Kyle asked, his voice cautious. We have become too focused on logic and efficiency, Queen Zara replied. We have lost much of the passion and creativity that makes life worth living. Your species has something we need, just as we have things you need. The room fell quiet as everyone waited for her to continue. Jake could feel his heart beating faster as he sensed that something important was about to happen. That is why I have decided, Queen Zara announced, standing up from her chair, to formally request a bonding between our species. Captain Morrison, I ask you to accept my proposal of marriage as a symbol of the alliance between the Zilithian Empire and humanity. Jake nearly choked on his drink. Around the table, the other Zilithians began making soft musical sounds that might have been applause or approval. Lisa and Kyle stared at him with wide eyes, clearly as shocked as he was. I'm sorry, what? Jake managed to say, his voice cracking slightly. Queen Zara smiled at his reaction. Marriage is how our people create the strongest bonds between different groups. When two families or clans or species wish to be truly united, they are joined through marriage. It ensures trust, cooperation, and mutual benefit for generations to come. Jake looked around the room desperately, hoping someone would tell him this was all a misunderstanding. But every face he saw was watching him with expectation and excitement. Your Majesty, he said carefully, I'm honored by your proposal. Truly, I am. But among humans, marriage is usually a personal choice between two individuals who have feelings for each other. It's not typically used for political alliances. We understand your customs are different, Queen Zara replied. But we believe that deep bonds can grow from mutual respect and shared goals, even if they do not begin with what you call romantic love. Before Jake could respond, Queen Zara continued speaking, and what she said next left him completely speechless. Not just me, human. Marry my sister as well, she said, gesturing to a figure who had been sitting quietly at the far end of the table. Princess Maya awaits your answer. Jake felt like the room was spinning around him. He looked at Lisa and Kyle, who both appeared to be in shock. Lisa's mouth was hanging open, and Kyle looked like he was trying to decide whether to laugh or run. Princess Maya stood up and walked toward them. She was similar to her sister, but different in important ways. Where Queen Zara was warm and welcoming, Princess Maya seemed cool and analytical. Her hair was darker, almost black, and she moved with the precise grace of a trained warrior. Greetings, Captain Morrison, Princess Maya said, her voice calm and controlled. I hope my sister's proposal has not caused you too much distress. Distress? Jake repeated weakly. I think that's putting it mildly. Princess Maya took a seat near him. In our culture, important alliances often involve marriages to multiple members of a royal family. It ensures that the bond between peoples is strong and cannot be easily broken. But why marriage at all? Lisa asked, finding her voice. Couldn't you just sign a treaty or agreement? Queen Zara laughed, a sound like silver bells.
Treaties
can be broken when it becomes convenient. Trade agreements can be canceled when they are no longer profitable. But marriage creates bonds that go beyond politics or economics. Marriage creates families, Princess Maya added.
Oh.
And families protect each other, even when it is difficult or costly to do so. Jake rubbed his forehead, trying to process everything. He was hearing, let me make sure I understand this correctly. You want me to marry both of you as a way to create an alliance between our species? That is correct, both sisters said at the same time. And this is normal in your culture? Very. Normal, Queen Zara confirmed. My grandmother was married to 3 different princes from 3 different worlds. Those alliances brought peace and prosperity that lasted for centuries. Jake looked around the dining hall. Everyone was still watching him with expectant faces. Waiting for his answer, he realized that his response would not just affect him personally, but could change the future of humanity's relationship with an advanced alien civilization. This is a lot to consider, he said finally. Among humans, these kinds of decisions are not made quickly or lightly. Of course, Princess Maya said. We would not expect an immediate answer, but we hope you will think seriously about our proposal. What would happen if I said no? Jake asked. The room became very quiet. Queen Zara's expression grew sad, and Princess Maya's face became even more serious than before. We would respect your decision, Queen Zara said slowly, but it would mean that our species cannot be truly united. We could still trade with humanity, but we could never fully trust your people or share our most advanced technologies. Jake felt the weight of representing all of humanity pressing down on his shoulders. Whatever choice he made would affect billions of people for generations too. Come, I need time to think about this, he said, and I need to discuss it with my crew and with Earth Command. Of course, Queen Zara said, her warm smile returning. Take all the time you need. But remember, Captain Morrison, that some opportunities only come once in a lifetime. As the feast continued around them, Jake sat in stunned silence, trying to figure out how he had gone from a simple exploration mission to being asked to marry 2 alien princesses to save humanity's future among the stars. The morning after the feast, Jake woke up feeling like he had been hit by a transport ship. The events of the previous evening felt like a strange dream, but the alien room around him reminded him that everything had been real. 2 alien princesses wanted to marry him to create an alliance between their species and humanity. A soft chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called out, expecting to see one of his crew members. Instead, Princess Maya entered the room. She was wearing simpler clothes than the night before, something that looked more practical and comfortable. In the morning light, Jake could see that she was indeed very different from her sister. Where Queen Zara seemed warm and emotional, Princess Maya appeared cold and calculating. Good morning, Captain Morrison, she said, her voice as controlled as it had been the night before. I hope you slept well despite the unusual circumstances. Not really, Jake admitted. This whole situation is pretty overwhelming, Princess. Maya nodded and sat down in a chair across from him. I thought you might benefit from speaking with me privately. My sister can be quite enthusiastic about her plans, but she does not always explain things clearly. Jake studied the alien princess. What exactly do you want to explain? The truth about why we are doing this, Maya replied. Zara told you about alliances and bonding, but she did not tell you about the real reasons we need this marriage.
Ow.
Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What real reasons? Maya was quiet for a moment, as if deciding how much to tell him. Our empire is not as strong as it appears, Captain Morrison. We've advanced technology and beautiful cities, but we have a serious problem that threatens our entire civilization. What kind of problem? We are dying out, Maya said simply. Not from war or disease, but from something much worse. We have become too perfect, too logical, too controlled. Our people have lost the ability to feel strong emotions or create new ideas. Our birth rates are falling, our art has become repetitive, and our scientists have stopped making real discoveries. Jake stared at her. I don't understand. You seem like a very advanced civilization. We are advanced in technology, yes? But we have lost something that your species has in abundance. Passion, creativity, the ability to take risks and try new Things we have studied humanity for decades because you have what we need to survive. So this marriage proposal isn't really about political alliance. Maya shook her head. Alliance is important, but it is not the main goal, I believe. That close contact with humans, especially through marriage bonds, would help us rediscover the emotions and creativity we have lost. Jake felt even more confused than before. But why marriage? Why not just cultural exchange or something less dramatic? Because our people need more than casual contact, Maya explained. We need deep, permanent bonds that will force us to truly understand and connect with human nature. Marriage creates the strongest possible bond between individuals. And why me specifically? I'm just a ship captain. Maya smiled slightly. You are not just anything, Captain Morrison. We have been monitoring your communications and records. You've shown remarkable leadership, creativity, and emotional intelligence. You care deeply about your crew and your species. These are exactly the qualities we need to learn. Jake stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the alien city below. This is insane. You're asking me to marry two people I barely know from a species I just met? To somehow save your entire civilization? I know it sounds impossible, Maya said, standing up as well. But consider the alternative. If our civilization continues to decline, we will eventually disappear entirely. And if we disappear, humanity will lose the chance to learn from our technology and knowledge. Before Jake could respond, there was another chime at his door. This time it was Lisa and Kyle, both looking worried and tired. Jake, we need to talk, Lisa said as they entered the room. She stopped when she saw Princess Maya. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't know you had company. Please do not let me interrupt, Maya said. I was just explaining some things to your captain. Perhaps it would be helpful if you heard this as well. Lisa and Kyle sat down, and Maya repeated what she had told Jake about the real reasons for the marriage proposal. Both humans listened with growing amazement and concern. So, you're saying your entire species is basically becoming extinct because you've lost your emotions? Kyle asked. That is a simple way to put it, but yes, Maya replied. We have become too efficient, too logical. We have forgotten how to feel joy, anger, love, fear, or any of the emotions that drive creativity and growth. Lisa leaned forward, her scientific mind clearly engaged. That's fascinating from a biological and social perspective. But why do you think marrying humans would solve the problem? Because humans are the opposite of what we have become, Maya explained. You feel everything very strongly. You create art and music and stories that move people to tears or laughter. You fight wars over ideas and beliefs. You fall in love and have your hearts broken and fall in love again. You are everything we have forgotten how to be. Jake sat down heavily. But I'm just one person. Even if I agreed to this marriage, how could I possibly help an entire civilization? It would not be alone, Maya said. If our plan works, we can learn from our bond with you. Then we hope to arrange similar marriages between other humans and other members of our royal family. Eventually, we might have dozens or hundreds of human Zilithian couples, all helping to bring emotion and creativity back to our people. Kyle looked suspicious. And what happens to humanity in all this? Sounds like you're planning to change our people as much as you're asking us to change yours? Maya nodded. That is true. We believe both species would benefit. Humans would gain access to our advanced technology and knowledge, while we would regain the emotional depth we have lost. Together, we could become something greater than either species could achieve alone. This is a lot bigger than we thought, Lisa said to Jake. This isn't just about you or even about a simple alliance. They're talking about fundamentally changing both of our species. Jake felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him again. I need to contact Earth Command. They need to know about all of this, of course, Maya said. But remember that time is not unlimited. Every day that passes, more of our people lose interest in life, in growth, in the future. We need hope, Captain Morrison, and right now you represent our only hope. After Maya left, Jake sat with his crew members in stunned silence. Finally, Kyle spoke up. It is way above our pay grade, Jake. We're explorers, not diplomats or social engineers. But we might be the only humans in position to make this decision, Lisa replied. If we leave and report back to Earth, it could take months or years for politicians and committees to decide what to do. By then, it might be too late. Jake looked at his friends and colleagues. What do you think I should do? I think Lisa said slowly that you need to spend more time with both of these women before you make any decisions. You need to understand them as individuals, not just as representatives of their species. Kyle nodded grudgingly. Hey, I hate to admit it, but Lisa's right. If you're going to make a choice that affects all of humanity, you need to know exactly what you're choosing. Jake stood up and walked back to the window. Somewhere in this beautiful alien city, Queen Zara and Princess Maya were waiting for his answer. The future of two entire civilizations might depend on what he decided to do next. Jake spent the next 3 days getting to know Queen Zara and Princess Maya as individuals rather than just alien royalty. He had requested this time to better understand their culture and their personal motivations before making his decision. And both sisters had agreed enthusiastically. On the first day, Queen Zara took him on a tour of the Royal Archives, a massive building filled with the collected knowledge and art of the Zalithian Empire. As they walked through halls lined with glowing crystals that contained millions of books, songs, and visual records, Jake began to see a different side of the alien queen. This is my favorite place in the entire empire, Zara said, her eyes lighting up as she showed him a section dedicated to Earth's cultural transmissions. For decades, I have spent hours here studying human art, literature, and music. Jake was amazed to see shelves containing what appeared to be every book, movie, and song that Earth had ever broadcast into space. You've collected all of this? Intercept your radio and television signals, Zara explained. I have read your Shakespeare, watched your movies, listened to your Beatles and Mozart. Human creativity is like nothing else in the galaxy. She led him to a small room where she had her personal collection. The walls were covered with reproductions of famous human paintings, and soft music was playing from hidden speakers. Recognized Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. This piece makes me feel things I cannot explain, Zara said, closing her eyes as the music swelled. When I hear it, I imagine what it must be like to feel such passion and joy that you must express it. Through sound, Jake watched her face as she listened to the music. There was a sadness there that he had not noticed before, a longing for something she could not quite reach. Don't you feel things like that? Zara opened her eyes and looked at him. I feel appreciation for the technical skill of the composition. I understand intellectually why it is beautiful, but I do not feel the emotions that drove the composer to create it, or the emotions it creates in human listeners. That must be terrible, Jake said softly. It is like being hungry, but never being able to taste food, Zara replied. We know that something wonderful exists, but we cannot experience it ourselves. Jake spent the rest of the day with Zara, listening to her talk about human culture and art with the passion of a scholar and the longing of someone who could observe but never truly participate. He began to understand that her marriage proposal was not just political or even practical. It was deeply personal, born from years of studying human emotion and creativity while being unable to experience it herself. The second day was spent with Princess Maya, and Jake quickly discovered that she was very different from her sister. While Zara was focused on art and culture, Maya was a military strategist and scientist who had spent her time studying human behavior in conflict and crisis situations. Your species fascinates me from a tactical perspective, Maya said, as she led him through the Royal Military Academy where she taught. You make decisions that are completely illogical from a strategic standpoint, yet they often lead to victory. Showed him recordings of famous human battles and conflicts that the Zalithians had studied. Look at this engagement, she said, pointing to a holographic display of a historical Earth battle. The human commander was outnumbered 3-1, had inferior equipment, and was in a terrible strategic position. Any logical analysis would predict complete defeat. But they won, Jake guessed. Not only did they win, they achieved total victory, Maya confirmed. Because the human commander made a decision based on emotion and intuition rather than logic. He inspired his soldiers to fight beyond their normal capabilities through pure force of will and passion. Jake studied the tactical display. You can't do that? Maya shook her head. Our military leaders make decisions based on careful analysis of all available data. We achieve efficient outcomes with minimal losses. But we cannot inspire our people to achieve the impossible the way humans can. As they continued through the academy, Maya showed him more examples of human behavior that puzzled and impressed. The Zilithians, stories of people risking their lives to save strangers, making personal sacrifices for abstract principles, and achieving things that should have been impossible through sheer determination. I have studied your species for years, Maya said as they sat in her private office, but I still do not understand how you make these emotional decisions. I can analyze them afterwards, but I cannot predict them or replicate them. Because you're trying to understand emotion with logic, Jake suggested. Some things just can't be analyzed that way. Maya looked at him with sharp interest. Explain. Jake thought for a moment. When a human parent runs into a burning building, to save their child, they're not making a logical decision. They're not calculating odds or analyzing risks. They're acting on love and instinct. The decision happens before they even think about it. But how do you function as a society if people make important decisions without thinking? Maya asked. We don't always function well, Jake admitted with a laugh. Humans make plenty of terrible decisions because of emotions. We start wars over hurt feelings, make bad choices because we're angry or scared, and sometimes let our hearts overrule our heads when we should be more logical. Yet your species continues to grow and achieve new things, Maya observed. Because the same emotions that cause problems also drive us to be creative, to take risks, to care about each other enough to make sacrifices. You can't have one without the other. Maya was quiet for a long time, thinking about what he had said. Finally, she spoke again. I believe that marrying you would teach me these things not through study or analysis, but through direct experience. Living closely with a human, sharing daily life and decisions, might allow me to understand emotion in a way that observation never could. On the third day, Jake met with both sisters together, and he began to see how they complemented each other. Zara's warmth and curiosity balanced Maya's analytical nature. While Maya's practical thinking kept Zara's enthusiasm focused, we have spent our entire lives preparing to lead our people, Zara explained as they walked through the palace gardens. But we are leading them toward extinction because we do not know how to inspire them to truly live. We need to learn not just human knowledge, but human feeling, Maya added. And we believe that can only happen through the closest possible relationship with humans. Jake watched the two sisters as they talked. Despite their different personalities, they clearly cared deeply about each other and about their people. Their marriage proposal was not selfish or manipulative. It was a desperate attempt to save their civilization from slow death. That evening, Jake sat in his quarters with Lisa and Kyle, trying to process everything he had learned. They're not what I expected, he admitted. More alien, harder to understand. But in many ways, they're just people trying to solve an impossible problem. Do you think their plan would work? Lisa asked. Could marrying them really help their species regain emotion and creativity? Jake shrugged. I don't know, but I'm starting to think the real question is whether I have the right to refuse to try. Kyle frowned. What do you mean? If there's even a chance this could work, if it could save an entire civilization and help humanity at the same time, maybe I have a responsibility to consider it seriously. Jake, Lisa said gently, you can't sacrifice your personal happiness for theoretical benefits to two species. Jake looked out the window at the alien city lights. But what if personal happiness isn't the most important thing? What if some decisions are bigger than just one person's wants and needs? As he sat there thinking about Queen Zara's longing to truly feel music and Princess Maya's desire to understand the emotions that drove human achievement, Jake realized that his decision was becoming less about what he wanted and more about what was right for everyone involved. On the fourth morning, Jake knew he had to make his decision. He had spent 3 days learning about Queen Zara and Princess Maya as individuals, and he understood their situation better than ever before. But he also knew that he could not agree to their traditional marriage proposal, no matter how much he wanted to help their people. He asked to meet with both sisters in the palace garden. It's a peaceful place where they could talk privately. The morning air was warm and filled with the scent of alien flowers, and the sound of water trickling through crystal fountains created a calming background. "Your Majesties," Jake began, using the formal address that seemed appropriate for such an important conversation, "I have given your proposal very serious thought over the past few days." Queen Zara and Princess Maya sat across from him, their faces showing both hope and worry. They could probably tell from his tone that he was not going to give them the answer they wanted. "I am deeply honored by your proposal," Jake continued, "and I understand now why you believe marriage is necessary. You need deep, permanent connections with humans to learn the emotions and creativity that your people have lost."
"I'll bet you are."
"Going to refuse?" Maya said quietly. It was not a question. Jake nodded sadly. "I cannot agree to marry both of you as you have proposed. In human culture, marriage is based on love and personal choice that develops over time between two people who know each other well. While I respect you both greatly, we barely know each other as individuals." Zara's face showed disappointment, but also understanding. "We knew this was a possibility. Human customs are very different from ours." "However," Jake said, raising his hand to stop them from responding, "I do not want to leave here without helping you find a solution. Your people are facing extinction, and humanity could benefit greatly from alliance with your civilization. There has to be another way. What do you suggest?" Maya asked, her analytical mind already trying to solve the problem. Jake took a deep breath.
"No."
"What if we created a new kind of alliance, one that honors both human and Zilithian values?
"Oh."
Of immediate marriage, what if we established a long-term cultural exchange program, where members of both species live together and learn from each other over extended periods?" The sisters looked at each other, then back at Jake. "Explain this idea more," Zara said. "I would agree to stay here as Earth's first ambassador to your empire," Jake proposed. "Not as your husband, but as your friend, ally, and cultural teacher. I would live among your people, work with your leaders, and help you understand human emotions and creativity through daily interaction and friendship." Maya leaned forward, interested despite her disappointment. "And what would we offer in return?" Would send ambassadors to Earth to learn about human society firsthand," Jake replied. "And eventually, if genuine personal relationships develop between individual humans and Zilithians over time, those could grow into marriages based on real love and understanding rather than political necessity." "But would this slower approach provide the deep connections our people need?" Zara asked. Jake smiled. "I think it might provide something even better. Real friendships and relationships that develop naturally over time based on mutual respect and genuine care for each other. Those kinds of bonds are often stronger than marriages arranged for political reasons." Maya was quiet for several minutes, thinking through the implications. Finally, she spoke. "This approach would take much longer to implement than our original plan. But it would be more likely to succeed," Jake pointed out. "If your people are going to rediscover emotion and creativity, it has to happen naturally, not because they are forced into it through arranged marriages." Zara stood up and began pacing among the flower beds. "There is wisdom in what you say. Some of our greatest achievements in the past came from voluntary cooperation rather than enforced alliances. And it would give both species time to truly understand each other before making permanent commitments," Maya added, warming to the idea. "We could learn whether this cultural exchange actually works before asking many people to participate." Jake felt hopeful for the first time since arriving on the Zilithian world. "We could start small, with just a few people from each species. If it works well, we could gradually expand the program. Eventually you might have hundreds of humans living among your people as friends, teachers, and eventually spouses if relationships develop naturally." "But would you really be willing to stay here for years as our ambassador?" Zara asked. "It would mean leaving your ship, your crew, your normal life." Jake had been thinking about this question since the idea first occurred to him. "My crew would return to Earth to report on our contact with your civilization and help establish the official exchange program. I would stay here to begin the cultural exchange and prove that it can work." "That is a significant sacrifice," Maya observed. "Would be giving up your career and life on Earth?" But I would be helping to create something new and important, Jake replied. And honestly, after seeing your world and meeting your people, I find myself genuinely interested in staying and learning more about your civilization. Kyle and Lisa, who had been listening quietly from nearby, approached the group. Jake, Kyle said, are you sure about this? Staying here alone while we go back to Earth? I won't be alone, Jake said, looking at the two sisters. I'll be with friends. Lisa smiled at him. I think it's a brilliant solution. It gives everyone what they need while respecting everyone's values. Over the next few hours, they worked out the details of the new alliance. Queen Zara and Princess Maya would establish the first human-Zilithian cultural exchange station, a facility where the ambassador program would be based. Jake would live there and work with selected Zilithians who wanted to learn about human culture and emotions. In return, the Zilithian Empire would send 2 of their own people to Earth as cultural ambassadors. Zara volunteered immediately, saying she was eager to experience human art and music firsthand. Maya was more cautious, but agreed that the program needed representatives who understood both cultures. There is one more thing, Zara said as they finalized their agreement. This new alliance should have a proper name, something that represents what we are trying to achieve together. What do you suggest? Jake asked. Maya spoke up. The Harmony Project. Because we were trying to create harmony between logic and emotion. Between different species, between different ways of understanding the universe. I like that, Jake said. Right. The Harmony Project it is. 3 days later, Jake stood on the crystal landing platform watching the USS Horizon prepare to depart for Earth. Lisa and Jay would carry news of the first peaceful contact between humans and an alien civilization, along with detailed plans. For the cultural exchange program, Queen Zara and Princess Maya stood beside him, no longer as potential wives, but as friends and partners in an unprecedented experiment in interspecies cooperation. Are you ready for this? Zara asked him. Jake looked around at the beautiful alien city that would be his home for the foreseeable future. I think so. You ready to learn about human emotions? Maya smiled, an expression that came more easily to her now than it had a week ago. I believe I am already learning. A few days ago, I did not understand why humans make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. Now I think I am beginning to understand that some decisions are too important to be left to logic alone. As the USS Horizon disappeared into the alien sky, Jake felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness about the future. He was about to embark on the greatest diplomatic and cultural experiment in human history. But looking at his new friends and allies, he felt confident that they were creating something that could benefit both species for generations to come. The Harmony Project was just beginning, and Jake Morrison, former Starship captain, was about to become humanity's first ambassador to the stars.